Well, hey everyone, welcome back for part 2 of my series on hacking GCP. Now in part 1, we didn't actually get into the hacking GCP part, but we were able to get initial access to the web app, and now we're going to pick up right where we left off and begin enumerating that web app, seeing if we can find some vulnerabilities, specifically based on what we're looking at in the lab, some type of SQL injection vulnerability. Now before we dive into that, I do want to share with you a word from our sponsor. The sponsor of this video is me. So before we dive into this web app, real quick word from our sponsor. Check this out and then we'll dive through this together. To succeed as a pen tester in 2025 and beyond, you need to understand cloud pen testing. I created an entire course, Introduction to AWS Pentesting, which is 65 hands-on lessons taught by me, a real pen tester, not just a silly InfoSec influencer. This course is available right now for only $34.99. I could have easily charged hundreds of dollars for this course, but I wanted it to be affordable and accessible. Link is in the description. And there you go. And to be very clear, the course is $34.99 at the time of this recording, but it will be going up to $49.99 soon. So even if you don't plan on going to the course right now, buy it now. You pay once, it gives you lifetime access to the course. I will continually update the course. It will remain fresh and updated. So check out the course if you haven't already. Additionally, you will notice up here, you can see people from the live chat. I'm doing this live on stream, and you should join the live studio audience sometime. Over on YouTube, when you subscribe, hit that notification icon thingy, and then you'll get notified when I go live. Would love to have you here for the live stream when I make the videos. Default Sexa just got the course. Amazing. Dude, welcome to it. And also, for those of you who are checking out the course, I say this, but I mean it. If you go through my course and you decide it was not worth the money you paid, DM me on Discord. I will personally refund you out of my own pocket. That's how much I believe in the quality of this course. It will take you from beginner level to intermediate level when it comes to AWS pen testing. But here we go. Let's dive right back in where we left off. You can remember we have valid credentials of user and retail 123, and let's dive right back in. I'm going to jump over to the web app, and first I need to turn off Kaido, the intercept. Geez, I also need to zoom out. It was helpful when we were doing repeat, but let me turn that off because that is too big. Hopefully, oh, come on. Did I break the stupid login screen again? I did. Beautiful. Okay. Let me close out the browser. I don't know why this web app does it. I haven't had to do it with other web apps, but if you're having the same issue as me, it's like if you fail to log in, why can I not? I could have swore I copied that. If it doesn't log you in right away, you have to close it out. I don't know if it's a cache issue, a cookie issue, a weird issue, but now we're there. So we'll do user, retail, 123. Now let's see what functionality we have here. And looking over at chat, make sure I'm not missing anything. Hey Tyler, would you prefer dir search or something like Feroxbox? Feroxbuster. It all comes down to preference. Yeah, I like dir search, but doesn't mean it's better than the other ones. But what functionality do we have in this web app? We have gigantic retail. We have cart, which just pops that up. We have history. We actually have a lot of functionality in here. We have products. We can go to laptop, so it's Cat 1 if I change it to Cat 2. We have a lock thing, my account. We can update our password, my profile. Let me update that. Oh no. Wait. That's a SQL error. What? Uncaught MySQL exception. Update command denied to user. Wow. We know the name of our user. We know the name of our table. I don't know if that's intended. YOLO, we're gonna take this. All right, we found it. I found it, not on purpose, but okay. I tried to update my username, and somehow threw a SQL error with some interesting details. So let me drop that in here. Uncaught MySQL SQL exception. Update command denied. So here's a few things that we know, right? The MySQL user is POS user, point of sale user. Table is POS, customer. The full file path is var www html inventory user save profile.php. And yeah, that's odd. Did I break the web app by doing that too? Do I have to? Okay, no, I didn't break the web app. But isn't that weird? I'm going to do it again, but I'm going to capture it with Kaido so I can play around with this. Like, look at that. It just fails. I'm going to run SQLMap against this, but this is weird because I'm not doing anything to fuzz the input. Now, SQLMap is a tool that will automate some SQL injection and SQL enumeration for you. Now, if you are studying for the OSCP, you are not allowed to use SQLMap, okay? But I love SQLMap. I personally suck at SQL injections. Like, trying to do it manually, I can sometimes get it to work, but it's a weakness of mine. I don't know why my mind just can't comprehend it. I've even found SQL injections on real web apps, but it takes me a little bit longer probably than the average person. So I love SQLMap for that purpose. I'm going to do nano, and I'll just call this the request.txt. I'm going to paste in that full request from Kaido, and then we can run SQLMap against it by SQLMap-R and pass it the request.txt. And we'll just hit yes. We want to process that. And I already found that the post name multi-part scene name might be injectable, but I don't know if it is. Because here's what's going to confuse SQLMap. No matter what you do, it seems that there is a SQL error. So this might be actually a false positive. It's not going to know which field to check, but let's just find out. We'll see if it does anything. That is true. You cannot zoom in burp, at least not as easily as you can in Kaido. In burp, you can zoom in. You have to change preferences. And yes, I do use Kali Linux, at least in a VM. My host machine is Ubuntu, but I do use Kali in a VM. While this runs, let's go ahead and continue checking out this very strange web app. I'm just going to go ahead and drop this request because we don't need it. I'll hit back. And let's see what other interesting functionality we have. Can I add this to my cart? I want a quantity of 1. I'm just going to use the web app. Okay, cool. We have another freaking SQL error just by adding a quantity of 1. This is a very buggy web app. If this was in production, I would tell them you guys aren't ready for a pen test because your web app itself doesn't even work. I can't even add those to my cart. Okay. How about, can I search for products? It selects some, so the search functionality works. Well, if I check out, cancel, so I can't add anything to my cart. I can't click the products. If I go to history, view full details. What is this web app, guys? This web app is very buggy. Can I search here? If I go next, okay. This is still trying to find SQL injection. Now what we can do, since we kind of use the web app, I don't use any of those get Arch or get to. I mean, Linux is Linux. Doesn't matter what distro you use. If we go to HTTP history here, we can kind of look at some of these requests and play around with them a little more. So I'm going to scroll down. We have, of course, this weird cat request. I could probably spend an entire video just trying to break this web app because it wouldn't be that hard to break the web app. don't know what this is, but what if I do try some LFI? Okay, no, that doesn't work. Here's our add to cart that broke. But I wasn't even doing a SQL thing. Insert command denied to user? Wait, this almost seems like the MySQL database in the backend is broken. The user assigned in MySQL to do this request does not have permission to do the request. Insert command denied to user POS user at localhost for table POS cart in var www html inventory user add cart. I wonder if this is intended or if something is slightly broken. Because I don't think we're supposed to get this error message. What do you guys think? Let's just continue looking at this. That's the add cart again as well. Add cart. Here's our search number named D number 1. So this works. What if I add a quote? Okay. And then we get a SQL error. So this also looks like it's vulnerable to SQL injection. You see how the quote gave us that SQL error? Let's go ahead and try that with SQLMap. I'm going to get out of that one. I don't think that one's going to work. Let's do nano request2.txt. I'm going to paste that one in. Actually, you want to make sure you don't have a quote in the request because it will confuse SQLMap. So I'm going to remove that. And we'll do SQLMap.txt, and let's play around with this one. Put it in ChatGPT. I don't want to put it in ChatGPT. I actually made a YouTube short on my channel about that, but LLMs are fun and super helpful, but when I'm doing labs, I want to do it manually because it helps the learning stick better for me. Here we go. Potential problems detected. Command denied. I feel like something might be broken about this machine, but maybe not. We have 7 columns in the query. Hey, Dr. Shakar, that would be a little bit more than the intended scope of this video. Doing that full analysis, but maybe I'll make a video about that. I honestly am not sure if this web app works. Like legit works for the lab. I don't know if somebody else broke it, but I don't think we should be getting this deny error because what that's telling us is the user assigned in the backend web app to make updates of it via SQL doesn't even have permissions to make those updates. Update or insert, those are 2 errors that we've seen. We see it here in SQLMap that we have command denied. So at this point in time, I would contact the client and say, hey, I'm pretty sure I have SQL injection in your web app, but bruh, your web app doesn't work. Have you ever used the web app? That's the weird thing. What I'm going to do now is we're going to do a quick sanity check. The nice thing about PwnedLabs is there are detailed walkthroughs and everything, and I just want to read until I'm not really stuck, but I want to read long enough to see if this is intended functionality or if I'm kind of hitting a dead end and I need to ping PwnedLabs and say, hey, I think something might be broken about this web app. So let's check this out. We've done all of this. We've done all of this. I didn't do that, but that's not super helpful, I don't think. This is just seeing that's part of Google Cloud. This is trying to brute force username and password. We didn't do that because we found I already have the admin hash. Yep. We can't crack the admin hash. Okay, this is just showing brute forcing the login. I didn't do that because we were able to find the hash. They used FFUF, I used dir search, and I was able to find the SQL database file. Of course, I got that. I got the hash. I did crack the hash, so that is all done. This gives us access to the application. All right, here's where I want to figure out if the web app is broken. As we're checking the additional functionality of the app, as this can often result in more vulnerabilities. With Burp, I would recommend Kaido. Intercepting the traffic again, clicking on the cart results in the following post request being captured. Okay. So that, I don't think I checked that functionality. If I go to HTTP history here. So we have fetch cart, your cart is empty. I bet this is vulnerable to SQL injection. Oh, no, it's not. Okay, well, my cart's just empty. All right, let's go back to the walkthrough. I still feel like something in this web app is broken. What's this trying to do? This is having issues as well. I think because of those deny things. All right, we got target URL appears to be union injectable with 7 columns. Do Y for random integer. Anyways, back to the walkthrough. Is this application broken? Doing the same test with add cart PHP results in a SQL error. We have found a potential SQL injection vulnerability. Okay, I do think the web app is broken, guys. No matter what we do, you actually get a SQL error. Maybe I'm wrong. Let's see if we can at least repeat this error. So I think I was already looking at that right here, right? No matter what we do, we get that SQL error. That's the same request we have here. They get a different SQL error if they add a single quote. Okay, we are getting that same SQL error. Well, I think. All right, I mean, first of all, the web app's very confusing because it's very buggy. Like the cart functionality doesn't even work. Like you can't even add anything to the cart. No matter what, you get a SQL error. I'm going to go ahead and say that's not intended, and I'll ping PwnedLabs on that for clarification. If I look over at this, and this one's apparently vulnerable too. Unable to connect to the target URL. Let's see if we can work with this request. So if we do SQLMap H, because I always forget the syntax, there's different things that we can do. One is we can try to get the current user. We already know the current user, but let's just see if it matches up. And it does, right? We can get our current user is POS user at localhost. So we do have a SQL injection vulnerability that we have found. We'll go ahead and add that to our notes. I'm doing H2 and we'll say confirmed SQL injection. I'm going to grab the request, which is this one right here. Actually, I don't want that whole thing. I just want the request. Oh, update the admin's password. That could be something we could try. I feel like this web app could lead to a lot of rabbit holes because it has multiple vulnerabilities. I mean, I didn't even see this in the walkthrough, this one that I found here. But we for sure have SQL injection. And I'm just going to drop all my, I'm going to drop all my enumeration as we dig into this. So there's a lot of things we can do with SQLMap. If we do SQLMap-H, we can go ahead and try to get the databases, which is always helpful. We already kind of know the databases, but let's try that out. So we'll do this and DBMS. Okay, it must be with 1 dash. Oh, DBS. Come on, Tyler. So we have 2 databases. We have information schema, which is kind of a standard MySQL database, and we have POC, which would be a point of sale database. Now, SQLMap-H, like I said, I always forget it. We want to specify our database. So we're going to do -D for POS for our database, and then we can go ahead and enumerate the database tables. And when we do that, we have a few different database tables. We have user, cart, category, customer, inventory, product, sales, sales detail, and supplier. Now, we already have the backup database, so I don't know if users is going to give us anything interesting. I think it's -T. Users, nope, I don't remember the syntax. Yeah, okay, so we'll do database POS -T. We want users and then we can dump the table entries. Really? Didn't I just see that? Oh, it's user, not users. There's not an S on the end. I think these are the same hashes we already found in the backup file. Let's fact check that though. So B54, B54, F78, F7A, 3A6, 3A6. The cool thing I could show you is like it will try to crack these hashes on our own. We'll do. We'll see if the dictionary, the default one, can do it. You think it can crack it? No, it couldn't crack it. We had to use rocku.txt and it would have cracked the user one. But this is interesting. We have SQL injection. There's nothing in the tables that would be helpful to us, but SQLMap has a few other things that we might be able to do. If we do SQLMap-H, we could try to, well, we could try to get an OS shell. Let's try that. I've rarely had luck using this, but let's give it a shot. We'll use PHP, which is default, which is fine. Okay. That didn't work. We're not, an OOB shell is not going to work either. Interesting. You find the type. We already cracked the hash password. If you missed the part 1 of this video, it will be on my YouTube channel. That's when we cracked the hash password. But we have SQL injection, but there's not much we can do with it. And because the web app's so buggy, I'm confused. I mean, so in the official walkthrough, they're showing a SQL injection in a different spot. That is so this one right here. But here's the thing that about this one is no matter what you do, it's broken because the user, POC user, can't even insert. It's denied to them. They're using union select null to figure out the number of columns. All right, they brought in SQLMap, which is what I did. So yeah, it's command injection, but it's SQL injection leading to that. This is all things that I did. Yep, same as the backup SQL file, which is exactly what I just said. I just want to get to the GCP part of it. I might just speed run this and look at the walkthrough. I mean, I've done enough videos on SQL injection and command execution. I really want to get to the GCP part of it. And look, I tried this as well. You guys saw me do that OS shell. Not successful. Oh, there's another SQL. This is confusing. And the minus cart.php. I can't do that. The cart's broken. I cannot minus the cart. Since I can't add to the cart, I cannot minus from the cart. You guys know what I mean? Okay, we're going to have to stop the video here, and maybe I'll edit and splice these things together. But I am about 99.9% confident the web app itself is broken because if I cannot add to the cart, I also cannot minus from the cart. Let's see if that's even the way in, though. They find the minus cart thing, which is not available to me. I mean, you can see the request there, but I can't do that. I see. So they do have command execution. They write to the web root. and they get command execution. They're going to write a PHP web shell. Okay. I think the web app's broken. We could try this on here. We don't have, I mean, we could do -car.php, but I'm not showing it the right way. If I do something like oh. Okay, I still think it's broken, but you're able to do the same thing through the SQL injection that we found. I think it worked. I mean, I definitely have RCE here. We're just going to go with it. All right. We're not stopping the video. We're going to roll with the punches. I'll still ping PwnedLabs because I don't think it's supposed to work this way, but let's go ahead and go with it. I'm going to copy this and add it to my notes. And we'll come down here. I'll do command execution. Very confusing. I think the web app is broken and there are a lot of SQL injections. I followed the walkthrough for this one so we could just get to the GCP part at least. I'll add that. But we'll go ahead and drop that information there. And now we have command execution. We can see who am I? We are www data. I'm going to grab a screenshot of that for our notes. If you're confused on the SQL injection there, so am I. But to be honest, I just want to get to the GCP information. So let's mark off our first task. Leverage SQL injection to gain command execution. Now we need to identify service account credentials and instance metadata. Whoops, that's going to be our next task to work on. I'm going to do an H1, and we're going to paste that in. Now let me share a little bit about what this actually means, because you have the same vulnerability in AWS and Azure if you're able to abuse it. But the web server that we are able to get command execution on is in GCP. It's a GCP virtual machine. And all of these virtual machines in the cloud have metadata they can hit. It's how the web server knows their own ID and the own role they have. But that can be abused, because if you can get command execution on a web server, you can hit the metadata for that cloud, and you might be able to steal credentials that are assigned to that VM. Very common attack path. Matter of fact, one more plug for my AWS Pentest course. If you go through my AWS Pentest course, I have an entire module on using SSRF to abuse this in AWS to steal credentials that lead to, eventually to privilege escalation. But like I said before, I'm not as familiar with GCP, so let's do a little bit of reading on this together. We'll go ahead and do GCP metadata. SSRF is kind of what it is, but it's really not. We can check this out. Here we go, hacking the cloud. Awesome resource. What up, Josh G? Good to have you here. I guess it simulates real-life pen testing. Imagine the weird things and bugs pen testers have found during actual pen test. I mean, I'm an actual pen tester, and I don't find apps that buggy, for what it's worth. Metadata can provide an attacker, blah, blah. The metadata can be accessed by regular HTTP GET request or curl, sans any third-party client libraries, or making a request to metadata Google. So we need to curl this, and we need to pass it the header of Google. For basic enumeration, an attacker can target, and we have different ones we can target here. To view scope, to view project metadata, to view instance metadata. We want to view service account credentials. Do we have that? Project number, project ID, zone, default service account email. lists all the default service accounts, lists all the supported scopes, returns the auth token that can be used to authenticate your application to other Google Cloud APIs. That might be what we want. I'm going to go ahead and try this. We're going to have to URL encode it a little bit, but if I do curl like so, I'm going to do this in Kaido, make my life a little bit easier. All right, there's our curl command. You can see it's going to be not URL encoded. I'm going to repaste that in. And the metadata endpoint we want to hit, I think, is going to be this one right here. So I'm going to grab that one and replace that there. We're passing our H metadata flavor Google, which I think is going to be required for any of these. Now what we need to do is URL encode this so it works well. In Kaido, I'm going to highlight it, right click, convert replace, and URL encode. And it will URL encode it for us. Cross our fingers, it's probably not going to work, but let's see what happens and click send. Look at that. And by doing that, we are able to get an access token, which is going to give us the ability to dive into GCP. Let me grab a screenshot for our notes. I'm going to do Control C, drop it over in our notes, and we'll say accessing the metadata endpoint for the access token. I'm going to paste that screenshot. I don't know why I did a code block. Let me not do that in a code block. And drop that information in there. So the nice thing about cloud, guys, is when you learn one cloud platform, like if you learn AWS through my course, another plug right there, if you get good at AWS, you can very quickly pick up Azure and GCP. They're different cloud environments, but many of the attacks are very similar. So this is very similar to something I show you in my course on AWS, which is why I had an idea of what to do here. The other thing I want to do is grab this full request from my notes so that when we come back to it, we can, just copy and paste it instead of reinventing the wheel. So we have the full request right there. And let's go ahead and drop in the full response because that's going to give us our access token. We're probably going to have to do that again to get our access token, but this is a good stopping point. We're 30 minutes into part 2 of this video, and we were able to gain initial access to GCP. If you're following along with this lab in PwnedLabs, I want to give you a little bit of homework to do before watching part 3 of this video. I have shown you how to get an access token. Your homework is how can you use this access token to then authenticate to GCP. Try it on your own first, see if you can figure it out. If you don't have access to PwnedLabs, that's okay as well. What I want you to do instead is do a little bit of research, right? Do it on your own. Research GCP access tokens, research GCP service accounts, and research how, if you discover this in a pen test, how might you be able to abuse this? But this is going to end part 2 in our little mini series here of hacking GCP, working through this lab by PwnedLabs. So thank you so much for taking the time to hang out and learn with me. I will catch you in part 3.